This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Here she is, everybody, our Director of National Intelligence.
Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying? Ma'am, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat.
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
You know, I there was a little girl who had a little curl right in the middle of her round head. When she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrid. That's our Director of National Intelligence. I can only conclude it's a DEI hire. That's all I can conclude. Okay? I mean, you know, it would have been great if we had like, I don't know. You know, Donald Trump should want to know. He should want to know if people in his administration are doing really, really stupid things. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what he wants them to do. All right. I get it. I get it now. And of course, just deny. I never knew her. I never met her. You know, Walls is saying he never met this Jeffrey Goldberg, who is the editor-in-chief at the Atlantic magazine. How could you not know Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic magazine and then send Pete Hegseth out on the tarmac to quote every article he ever wrote that you disagreed with? I mean, it just makes no sense. And Donald Trump's like, what were they talking about? I don't know. You're telling me. I never. But he has a definite opinion about the Atlantic. I mean, a considered opinion, a real, you know, opinion based on the writings of people who work at the Atlantic, but he's never heard of it. He just thinks it's a failing magazine and he doesn't know anything about it. Okay, all right then.
It was shocking. And I got to say, you know, all the things that I've seen happen in the last few weeks, it's taken a lot to feel genuinely shocked. But this is genuinely shocking. We're talking about incredibly sensitive, highly classified information that they didn't just discuss on an unclassified system. They sent war plans to the wrong guy. Now, they're lucky, and we're lucky, that that wrong guy was a responsible, patriotic, ethical journalist who just had on this program who knew not to publish anything that could put people's lives in danger. But I got two questions on my mind. One, what if this had, in fact, gone to somebody else? I mean, somebody who could plausibly be in some of these people's cell phones. I don't know, the Chinese ambassador or Russian negotiator. And the other question on my mind is, how many other times has something like this happened? You know, this is the one that we know about. But how many other times could they have screwed up like this in a way that puts American troops and families in harm's way?
And, you know, Buttigieg was an intel officer, so he would know a little something about it. I mean, he would be better suited to be the Director of National Intelligence than the medic, Tulsi Gabbard, who also wore the uniform, but she was a medic. I don't know how she gets from here to here without DEI. I don't know. I don't know how she gets, upwardly promoted this way unless it's, a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. I don't know.
But speaking of what Buttigieg mentioned, I think we're all kind of lucky that it went to Goldberg. Not only did he not try to cash in or publish it, but he also didn't go back to the administration and say, hey, I've got this text chain. You know, I won't tell anybody, just what are you going to do for me type of thing.
Yeah, transactional.
Right?
Yeah, like they would have done to him. Well, he's not done. This is the thing. Because they're trashing Jeffrey Goldberg at the, the highest level of our country, the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense stood on a tarmac yesterday and, in his buzzy way of, his drunk... Listen, it's like so amazing. Like with all this documentation, he's insisting that no war plans were discussed with the group, and I can only conclude that he doesn't remember that war plans were discussed with the group. And see, here's another little detail about why they might use an app. God. A commercially available app that you could download, that I could download for sensitive war plan information. Perhaps they didn't want a record of it. Now, if they go through the skiffs, if they go through the official channels of government that they're supposed to go through when they're talking about top secret, highly classified, imminent attacks on a foreign country, then that record would be preserved forever in the National Archives, right? You know that. This, it gets erased after 4 weeks. That's what Signal does. So, there's a plethora of reasons why. But Buttigieg, when he was on the TV, he was like, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. See, Brett, he's in my camp where everything shocks me too. However, Brett is in the camp where, and so is Howard, where nothing shocks them anymore because, they've seen it all, heard it all, and every day is a new thing. And they, Howard, I won't put this on you, Brett, but Howard mocks me every single day going, I thought there was nothing new under the sun. Well, there isn't. It's just that when Hillary is asking risotto questions, meaty, important, broth-based risotto questions, and you have an expert on the other end, i.e. John Podesta, who can tell her about the starchiness that you would be washing out if you added all the broth at once instead of adding it incrementally and gradually, stirring and adding some more. You are talking to an expert, at least. At least. But they wanted to lock her up. So, there's nothing new under the sun, okay? Again, it's about, Hillary's risotto emails, hot stuff, or war plans. But Buttigieg, he was very funny in private, okay? I won't say in private. He was in public, but he wasn't on a mainstream news media. He was on his own social media, and this is how he put it, okay?
It's Pete. I try not to jump in with a take on everything or comment on everything we see in the news of the day, but what we learned about today is truly incredible. The U.S. Secretary of Defense, the National Security Advisor, the Vice President of the United States, and other very senior, very powerful Trump White House officials, it turns out, discussed highly classified war plans, not only on an unclassified channel, but accidentally and randomly, it seems, including a journalist. And to see this administration claiming that it cares about competence and merit, and then be responsible for an epic up like this demonstrates that these are not serious people.
Pete.
I was an intelligence officer for about 7 years in the U.S. Navy Reserve, and I occasionally handled highly classified information during my time in the cabinet as well. It can be hard to explain just how much goes into keeping that information safe. It is only available to people with a security clearance and a need to know. It's only discussed in certain facilities that are hardened to make sure that they don't have the same vulnerability to surveillance as most places. And importantly, you only ever use classified systems to discuss classified information. So America needs answers on why an unclassified, commercially available app was used, and even more importantly, how some of the most powerful people in this country didn't know that they accidentally included a journalist while they were discussing classified war plans that they had yet to authorize and execute. This is not something that's just important for its own sake. I know Americans who lost their lives because of intelligence failures. This kind of intelligence failure calls the question on whether there is any place for merit or competence in this administration at all. Because if they're not highly serious consequences for this level of screw up, then it will make clear that all of the bluster about merit that you hear about from this White House is just bullshit. We deserve so much better than this.
Yes, we do.
It is getting clearer by the day.
By the minute.
That the people in charge of the American government cannot keep the American people safe.
We're in danger, people. We're in danger. I'm telling you right now. This is exactly what Donald Trump wants to have happen. I think he's inviting an attack on our nation, and I don't know, like how patient the world is going to be with us, knowing that they hate entire continents. entire continents. One continent is full of crap hole nations. Another continent is full of, rancid gelato, I guess. I don't know. Bad veal. Oof. Tulsi Gabbard, our DNI, she can't say whether or not Edward Snowden is a hero or a traitor, right, in her confirmation hearings, and yet the Republicans confirm her. Now, the exit question on this topic ought to remain with you, and that is this. Why is it every time we have a Republican administration there are intelligence F-ups? How come every time we have a Republican administration we end up believing that some tin pot dictator should get $6 million to take tattooed people, but not Hegseth, and put them in a gulag, or that they have weapons of mass destruction and we need to do shock and awe? How come that happens every time we have a Republican president? Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.